I say grace to you and peace from God the Father and our Lord Jesus Christ be with you, receiving the Holy Spirit. Thank you. My name is Benjamin Gibson. I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that he was crucified for the remissions of our sins, was buried on the third day, and rose from the dead, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. He is my Savior. I grew up in an abusive family. My parents wrestled with addiction. My earthly dad died in 1999. My mother, a retired nurse, has been clean and sober for 27 years. I was born in Louisiana and raised in Alabama. My mom moved here after retirement to be closer to my brothers, whom both live here. My oldest brother was born and raised in Durango, and the middle brother has been here for 20 plus years. I am a pro skateboarder. Prior to moving here, I had my own home, and my dream job as a business owner of a skate shop and skate park, along with 3 or so more jobs, all in the South. But my daughter was in another state with her mom. Us being separated was extremely depressing. You can have $1 million movie star lifestyle and not have your family, and what is it all for? So I left it all just to be closer to my daughter. But her mom didn't want me around. She moved on. I turned to drugs and alcohol. Not an excuse, it's just what I did. I ended up coming to be with my family here in Durango. I worked at Southwest Ice in Durango. Also, I worked doing tiles sometimes with my oldest brother. Also, I did granite with 2180 lighting and design with my middle brother, and I also worked at Mountain Berry Medicine. These are just some of the different jobs I've had in the few years I've been here. I was my mom's caregiver for a while. Now she's in perfect health, again, thanks be to God. 9 months ago, I cried out to God to be delivered from drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. Thankfully, he is a deliverer, he is a redeemer, he is a restorer. I've been clean and sober now, all glory to God, for 9 months. Not even a cigarette. I live in a tent, and yes, I am making up for some poor decisions I made while I was on drugs. I help my mom, who is 74 years old. I watch my niece Monday through Friday. I'm on a housing list, although I'm not sure how that's going. If my mom didn't have a place for me to store my stuff for the day, I wouldn't have it to put up every night. Things get stolen, things get taken, things get lost, etc. Hebrews 13:2. Be careful to show hospitality to strangers, for in doing so, some have entertained angels unaware. Also, Jesus said, what you have done unto the least of these, you have done unto me. I hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you for letting me share.
My name's Shailene. I'm actually born and raised here in Durango. I So I've been here for 34 years almost now, next month. I was born in the old Mercy Hospital, like where the library now stands. So I've been in Durango for a long time now, and I've been homeless for about the last 11 years of my life here. You know, I grew up on the south side. I went to Park Elementary. I was in FFA in high school. And then after high school, I moved to New Mexico for about 6 years and got married and had a kid. Like a lot of life things, it didn't work out. Like, we ended up splitting about the same time my dad died, and I found my drug addiction. I moved back to Durango in 2015, and I kid you not when I say I was like 96 pounds, and that doesn't look good on anybody, but I was so broken after, it was the lowest point in my life. Like, my mom ended up taking custody of my oldest daughter, which at the time was devastating to me because I felt like that's all I had, but at the same time, at that point in my life, it was probably a good thing because, you know, I still had my daughter a part of my life. But when I came back, like I said, I had no family support. My mom wasn't willing to help me out unless could prove I was sober, which I was going to NA and I was trying to get sober, but she wouldn't let me stay in the house. And like I had nowhere to go. It was winter time and I felt helpless. I ran into 2 strangers actually at the 9th Street Speedway one night, and they took me in. They were homeless themselves, but they took me up to their camp. They fed me, they clothed me, they made me feel like I belonged. Like I finally found my support system, that I did have family, and it was awesome because if it wasn't for those 2 strangers, I might not even be here right now. I was at, like I said, the lowest point in my entire life that I've ever been at. And 96 pounds doesn't look good on anybody unless you're like 11. So finding the community is what saved my life. And for the last 11 years, I was a part of Purple Cliffs. I was a part of Hogsback when we had the 416 fire. And actually at Purple Cliffs, I was pregnant with my second kid. And I went into labor at Purple Cliffs. After that day on, like we were housed. They helped us get housing right after she was born. And we had about a year of support from the community. But again, me and my baby's dad were struggling with sobriety and struggling with life, adapting back into life. And we ended up messing up a couple of our vouchers, or got kicked out of a couple places, and me and him had to separate in order for me to get help. And so once I got my apartment, it was hard because there was a lot of rules to live by all of a sudden. We're used to being homeless, there's not a lot of rules. Like, I didn't even know what a light switch was anymore. It felt like my stepkid would come in and turn on the lights in the house. She was like, "Here, what are you guys doing sitting in the dark?" We're like, "Oh yeah, we got those things." It's like the first month in housing. And it was awesome to be back in that life, but it was hard because they wanted us to turn our back on the rest of the community. The rest of these strangers that came out of the woodwork and helped me out of the kindness of their heart, I couldn't even have over for dinner. Like, I remember asking about my mom coming to visit. And I was like, "Is that okay?" I asked my case manager, can my mom and my oldest daughter come over and see the apartment? And they told me no. Because it's part of their rules that we're not allowed to have guests in our apartments and stuff. And that's hard for us. We can't just turn our backs on each other. These people are my family. And so it made having a place pointless to me. Because usually when you have a home, you can invite your family over and your friends over. Like, I'm sure everybody has had family and friends over in their home. But to not be able to even do that was devastating to me. I did end up having some previous problems catch up to me. I had warrants, that I was on the run from that I had to take care of. And I ended up going to prison and losing my apartment. But I was gone for about 7 months. And when I got out, I had addresses I could go to. I had a place I could go to with my kiddo, and she's there and great, and I can go see her whenever I want and all that. But I chose to not stay there and try to make a difference in our community with the homeless. So I put myself this time on the streets with these guys to help them, to maybe help get community support and maybe get some understanding and from both sides. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, here we go. My name is Micah Flanagan. I'm 45 years old. I was born September 10th, 1980 at the Mercy Medical Hospital on the north side of Durango to Mike and Celeste. My parents divorced very young. I think I was like 2. So I don't really have any memories of that. My mom and dad both graduated from Farmington High School. My mom was a homemaker. My dad worked on the rigs until he settled into a career at BLM, where he spent the next 40 years or so of his life. My dad wasn't in my life until I was about 6 years old. No, probably about 7 or 8. My dad served in Vietnam in the Army Infantry Division, AmeriCal, from 1968 to 69. And upon returning to an unwelcome reception, as he would tell me, he had a lot of trauma to deal with, compounded, and was just really messed up for a long time. So it took him quite a few years to get those things worked out before he came back into our lives, and I'm thankful that he was able to do that. And then he was pretty much constant in my life. My mom, after that, she struggled as a single mom with 2 daughters, married multiple times, and then settled in with who became my stepfather and who had a pretty comfortable lifestyle growing up upper middle class in Farmington, New Mexico. But there was a lot going on behind the scenes there, lots of partying, lots of people in and out, and lots of risky behavior now that I look back on it. There was a lot of abuse going on, and that abuse was focused on my sister and myself. So that was the beginning of my trauma and the things that led up to where I am in my life. And why it happened was I didn't really have anyone to talk to. Things in my family were very secretive, so I tried methamphetamine the first time I tried. I was 14 years old, and it just helped me really. I say it helped me then, but I was addicted, probably the first time I ever tried it. And that kind of just started my journey on a very chaotic lifestyle, and couldn't hold a job. You know, I did graduate high school, but I did get kicked out of high school, so I had to get my GED. And that I just had depression, anxiety, PTSD, and that's how I dealt with it. I would get sober for a little while, then I would relapse. So my sister was using drugs too, so I was like 2 years behind her on that. So it was just really, really chaotic growing up for me, and really, really alone. The first time I went to rehab, I was 16 years old. The second time I was 27 and had 2 kids. So I did stay, I had 2 kids, I stayed with their dad for a while. It didn't work out. Then I kind of was just on my own. I was sober, and I moved in with my father, and went back to school, went to Salmon College for the first time. And then some things happened that I couldn't cope with very well. So I ended up being kicked out of my dad's house, and I met someone who was very understanding and showed me a lot of love that I didn't know before that. Hold on, I'm sorry. So, We started a relationship together, and we got a place, and every chance we got, we went camping. But we were doing a lot of drinking and partying, and I don't know, we were a lot younger then, and we just decided we were done with society on that level one night. And we wanted to kind of just go out and see what the world was really about. But a lot of it was based on the fact that we were drug addicts, you know? And so we did. So you can imagine the chaos that ensued up there. And I just decided I had to get out of there. So I left, and I spent the next month in the San Juan Mountains getting clean and sober before I went back to New Mexico. So I recently lost my partner to suicide. And it became really apparent to me that I needed to be able to take care of myself by myself. So that's what I did, and I just picked myself up and I did the best that I could, but not without the help of some really, really good friends. And I graduated from college in May. Which was an amazing feat for me because I had started college originally, I think I already mentioned, in like 2010. And without the help of some really amazing people, one of which is sitting right here in front of me, who's my senior advisor and friend and confidant, an amazing woman. So thank you. And so that's where I'm at now. And I think that if you want to know what homelessness is about or why people are homeless, understand that most of us didn't necessarily want to be homeless, or maybe we did at one point, but the hardest part of getting back up after you fall down is the hardest part. That's the hardest part, is to have a helping hand, someone to understand you, someone that's not going to turn their backs on you. And you know, we put our families through a lot of things over the years to where people have to have boundaries with you, you know? Durango is a awesome place. People are always going to flock here, transient or otherwise. And they know that people will help them, and I've seen that over and over again in this town. So I think if there were to be some kind of encampment like Purple Cliffs, it's got to have some kind of structure. You know, it just has to. You know, you need to have volunteers that are trauma-informed and trained in trauma-informed care, behavioral health issues, people that want to be involved with that to help it work on a realistic level. So now I am currently unemployed but looking for work. I was working as a direct support for individuals with disabilities, and I'm just trying to find my right fit with the right career at this point, but I am technically unhoused. I'm staying with a friend right now. I was in a tent before that. I have 2 dogs, so they have wrecked and destroyed. And what dogs do. The most recent event was a skunk about 5 a.m. and they bailed out the door, my male first, then my female dog, completely destroyed it. And luckily I didn't get sprayed directly. But anyways, needless to say, I had to move out of there. So, anyways, thank you for letting me share.
My name is Antonio Espinoza. I'm having a good night, Brother Ben. I was born in '94 in California. I didn't come to Durango until after my service with the military. You know, when I remember my childhood, I like to think that it was perfectly hunky-dory, but I think we all tend to put a positive light on the term, what is it? Terrible? I joined the military to get away from a certain negative lifestyle that poverty brings. It gave me a door to what I saw as responsibility and capacity, and before I knew it, unfortunately, my career was over. I ended up in Durango because I'd heard, like, through the grace of God, that there was some place on the side of a cliff in another state that would welcome the homeless people. And you know, when I arrived there, I'd never met such genuinely kind-hearted and understanding individuals in my life. It was the total opposite of the military, not in terms of absolute chaos, but there wasn't a rule for everything. It wasn't grid planned. It was freedom and responsibility, self-preservation, and respect. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people miss. It's not just a haven for drug users and criminals. It was a lot of very, very helpful people, and they were all critical to my recovery and my ability to stand in society once again. It's not like I didn't come home with my own set of issues. You know, I'd watched men die, done my part, and, you know, and you carry that with you. And so when I got out of the military, a 26-year-old man, I didn't know how to file my taxes. Military had done that for me. I didn't know how to rent a house. Military had done that for me. And there are certain expectations this world has of a grown man, and I just didn't meet them. And so I fell back into the only thing I knew from my childhood, which was drugs and chaos. And from there, I was able to, like, start refining myself. But it wasn't like it was, like, I'd spent years in service to the military, and then I got out with this idea that there were certain liberties that were preserved from the sacrifice that I'd made, and it broke my heart to see that that wasn't true. I mean, if you can afford your monthly Bill of Rights, there it is, but if you can't, then you're not really given them. You know, if you're homeless, you get labeled as an addict or a criminal, and you're treated the exact same, and that's not really fair. Like, I'm not trying to play down the difficulties of it. I'm not trying to, like, hype up or excuse anyone for their addiction or for their mental health crisis or for anything that they do that in terms of social construct is, you know, illegal. But it's hard out there. And there's really not much in terms of assistance that's being offered. You know, the goodest people I know are sitting to my left and right. There's Miss Susan in the corner over there, Matthew Crone, Glenda Farmer in the back, individuals who I've shared clothes with, I've shared food with, I've shared a place with. All of them treated me like family, and all of them are family to me. I think it's unfair, especially like from the position as a service veteran, that I see my countrymen being denied their civil liberties, being taken to jail for trespassing, for being homeless. Veterans Day is around the corner, and I'm hard-pressed to find a reason to celebrate for myself. And it breaks my heart to say that, because the military was the most precious time in my life. I'd found brotherhood and everything that I wanted in the world. And so it's really hard for me to try and come to terms with the fact that that might have been for no reason. Unhoused, transient, vagrant, or bum. Pick whichever term feels best for you. It makes no difference. Our health and hardship aren't in question. How we got there and how we're doing are of no regard. The people we are and the principles we might hold come second to the title we all hold with obvious irregularity. Homeless. And it stands out. For all the countless factors, twists and turns, and personal choices that got that person where they are, one fact unifies. There's nothing that can be done to make a difference. And of course that's not true, but at a glance, disregard is easier than attempting to analyze the infinite variables required to surmise whether or not it's a good idea to give some hobo $1. Truth be told, there's no way to say how significant $1 might be. Rhythmic cacophony, absolute chaos, day by day, and that is your fate. It's a little hard to make a plan for the future when you're playing it by ear. We are surrounded by drugs, have no sense of security, be it of person or property. There is no warmth and no water. And as I continue to clarify upon these uncomfortable constants, know that we are always at the mercy of prejudice and bigotry, wondering if we look normal enough to use the restroom or the microwave before we get chased off for being a hygienic concern. Well before any passerby comes to the realization that we smell of urine and feces, I assure you we are all well aware. Our lives don't have the luxury of clean clothes or a bath, detergent or deodorant. Blessed are those of us who have a place to wash our laundry or take a shower. But we have no choice to accept that daily privilege as less than likely. Envy insults us when we hear, "I understand." God forbid you truly understood the damage this lifestyle can do to one's self-confidence. We yearn for whatever quality of life is necessary to forget what quality of life we currently have. Envy is to understand how you understand. I promise most of us would love to get a job, get back to paying rent and owning a car, seeing a doctor or a dentist. But before taking into consideration how unlikely an employer is to consider the resume of anyone whose address is the local shelter, consider that we homeless would have to get to work the same way you get ready for work. Shower, shave, and clean clothes, breakfast before you're out the door, a sense of security as you lock that door behind you, passive reassurance that all you have worked for, all your possessions, prizes, clothes, food, and comforts, all that exists as testament and reason for pursuit of consistency, everything that motivates why you go to work. My people seldom retain what little possessions they fit into a backpack. We've no place to go after work to relax, no freshening up before the dinner we don't have. I don't get to rest in some bed that I don't own. I have no place away from the stinging summer insects or the icy cold of winter. My people are seldom in possession of a reason for why. And if we attempt encampment, we receive citations and tickets until we leave the area or get taken to jail. We aren't motivated by fines we are unable to pay, so we're instead motivated to move with notices to move everything we own or have it disposed of by morning, courtesy of those sworn to protect and serve. We have no rights to possession, property, or privacy. We have no home. We have no hope. We have no where or when. And I hope you understand why. Thank you.
I was born and raised here in Durango, and I have raised 5 kids here. My youngest is at the high school, and there's been good and bad being homeless for the last 6-7 years. To find unity, community, and cooperation up at Purple Cliffs was very challenging and hard, yet very rewarding, because the people that were true and were able to help really helped in ways that most people can't understand. Just having someone to listen to, or just being able to share their story. And I feel I've been very sheltered here, and you know, I've met so many people from different places, and the hurt that they felt and have embodied in this lifetime, I truly don't want to carry on to the next. So for me, I was born and raised here. My parents, my dad was the deacon at the Catholic Church, and my mom, she ran religious ed, and I actually saw when Manna was first at Sacred Heart, and you know, being a little girl and seeing like the community come together and do lunches, and to see what it's turned into now is kind of, I don't know, disheartening, but like it shows that people do care and that we all have a purpose. And you know, we think that it's not that big, but it's more than we really signed up for, I think. Um, so it's been a humbling experience just losing even an ID to all your stuff. It really does, for me, was a lesson that I guess God needed me to have, that I couldn't take any of it with me. So I think I gave up for a while and just didn't want anything and didn't need anything. And when COVID hit, I lost my property, and my kids were old enough to go their own way, and my girls went with their fathers, and it was just real challenging at first to figure out where I fit in the world, and not having to be a mother. And I had been clean for 22 years, and addiction, you know, comes like a thief in the night and will take over you. And I believe it's a very spiritual battle that most people have to deal with their drug addiction. I do believe that mental health is part of the problem, but I think when people become accountable of their actions and, you know, really want to help other people, it goes a different direction. And for me, it's been hard just being able to panhandle or ask for money. Like, I've always, I guess, got what I wanted and needed. And when I started doing for myself and was like, I'd rather do without than to ask for something, it really kind of taught me a lot about myself. And being able to ask shouldn't be such a hindrance, I guess. I think being in Durango and having such a community that does help. And I moved to Denver, tried to get out of here, and it didn't work out so well. I ended up homeless there, and it was like 1,000 times worse. And you know, the things people have to think about, like being sex trafficked, having food, selling their soul for food, just is awful. And it's embarrassing in itself, I guess. But there's so many issues that come with it. And once you're housed again and you're doing good and you want to help, then you kind of like, for me, has been like, I can't help because I'm afraid to lose it again. And I think just more people understanding that it's not a disease. Like, you're not gonna get homeless, I guess, touching a homelessness, a homeless person, but like the compassion needs to be there, and people do need to acknowledge that we all come from different struggles, and just be more compassionate, I guess, is what this world needs.
Hi, my name is Shasta. Let me tell you a little bit about my childhood. I grew up with a single mom that was a druggie and an alcoholic. At age 10, I started drinking. And at age 12, I started abusing drugs. And at age 13, I ended up in a mental institution. And by the time I got out, which was close to my 14th birthday, I cleaned myself up, and I've been clean ever since. I moved to Cortez. I raised my family there. I owned a home, but then my health got bad, and I lost my job and my home. And I've been homeless ever since, bouncing between Cortez, Montrose, Durango. And it's been hard, especially when you don't know anybody, you don't know what to do because you've never been in this situation. I've done things that I thought I'd never had to do, is stand on a corner asking people for money. I've been called names that I've never been called before by people, but yet there is a lot of good people here in Durango. And at the time, I've had to haul my camper back and forth from one place to another. Well, I moved it to that little park behind Home Depot, and then my truck got impounded. Well, cops started harassing me, and I got a hold, somebody gave me a number of somebody that really helped me out. He got a hold of the cops, explained my situation, and they worked with me. And he got me moved out to a certain spot. And my look on it is, we're all the same. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. I look at it this way, we all have to figure out a way to help each other out instead of knock people down, because there's so much of it going around. We need to find a way to pick people up instead of calling them worthless, useless, and thinking that you're better than they are, which you're not in my eyes. We're all the same. Some people just have better luck than others do. And that's why I like Durango, because there's a lot of good people out there that has helped me out. And they're still trying to help me out. I got a vehicle given to me, but I ain't got no way to get it to my place. And I'm trying. And I just want to say thanks to everybody that does know me. A lot of people around here know my kid, because my son and my grandson was even homeless for a while. They finally got a place, which I'm happy for. And I'm just hoping that things get better for the homeless, because I've seen too much in my lifetime to see more people die for no reason because they get cold or they're undernourished. I have a lot of health problems. I'm supposed to be on oxygen, as you could tell. I'm not wearing it. Because I guess I'm ashamed. I don't want people to look down on me because of my age and that I'm homeless. It's like, heck, I had one woman pull up to me when I was on my oxygen, and she flat out told me, why don't you just go die? But yet, I looked at her and I said, you know what? I don't know where you get off talking to people like that, because you can say it to the wrong person and they'll go and do it. Because there's so many people that don't have the support. And like I say, I'm lucky that I've had Manna, and the man standing back there, he has helped me out quite a bit. But I don't know really many people in this town. I stay to myself. But that's my story.
Hi, I'm Kate. My childhood was kind of rough. At 4 years old, my fear of humans began, and that lasted for a lot of years. And when I was 14, my mother decided to move, and strangely enough, she met a man, Bob Baker, who had a place at Purgatory, a restaurant, and he gave her employment and all. But I was born in Snowdenville, Pennsylvania, and moving to Purgatory changed my life drastically. I've lived in La Plata County for over 47 years, but I've only lived in Durango for about 3 years. When I was younger, I would choose to camp during the summer up there at Purg to save up money so I could rent a place all winter. And that worked out fine as a young person, you know. But, you know, what happened is life can throw curveballs at you. And I've been housed in Sparrow, and the manager there really liked me and all. We got along very well, but apparently the residents did not like me. Within less than 9 months, they called the police on me like 3 times, and the police were suspicious behavior or suspicious activity. And I'm looking around, I'm like, well, you see it. What is suspicious? We're supposed to go outside to smoke a cigarette. Go outside to smoke a cigarette, get something out of and that's suspicious activity, I guess, to some people. Anyway, being unhoused at this age has been brutal. It's really been brutal with my age and health conditions, and now that the weather's getting cold, that's real hard. Yeah, for sure. And one of the hardest things is how people, their perception of me, they look at me like I'm less than human, like, that's what you deserve. You deserve to live in the snow and the mud, and well, whatever. But I have kind of stalled out on looking for housing in Durango. I was really planning on leaving. Like I said, after 47 years of living in La Plata County, I'm ready to go. Unfortunately, in the spring, I lost my vehicle. So if I leave here, I guess I'll be walking. For sure. But, there are a lot of ifs in that word life. In the middle of the word life is the word if. And never say never. I've taught myself to never say never. Anything can happen to you. One day you could be living top notch, and the next day you're living in a pile of dirt. So never say never. This could happen to anyone, I believe. I would like to find housing if I'm going to be stuck here, but I feel like it has to be kind of like appropriate for me. I've never lived in an apartment, I'm 60-some odd years old, and I have never lived in an apartment until Sparrow, and maybe I'm not so good at being an apartment dweller, I don't know, one thing, I fear rejection and the expectation of, what people, I should look like this and dress like that, and my dog should never bark, and it's not a perfect world, and I am not a perfect person. But I also feel like I have paid my dues in La Plata County, working in the tourist industry up north. That's a lot of why I have the health issues that I do have, is breaking my back with a smile on my face so that everybody's little ski vacation went just perfect, and their food was good and everything was clean and all of that. In my eyes, what should change in Durango is rental prices. Just because you can get $1,000 a month for that one little room, should you? I guess, I don't know. I don't understand that either. The different reasons, I think. When I first became homeless, it blew my mind here in Durango. It blew my mind, all the different types of people and personalities and all the different reasons they were homeless. Some people are unhoused by choice, A lot of us are not, especially in the winter, but some people, it's what they want, you know, and I know it's not what I want, but it might be what they want. But what I'm gonna do for this winter, I guess, is a lot of praying. Thank you.